Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā bhagavati uttama-shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtake durlabhamanasho deho dehinam shana bhangurai Tatrapi durlabam manye Vaikuntha priya darshinaha Guruve Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Vasudeva Katha Prashna Purusham strin punyatihi Vaktaram pritchakam shrotram Tatpada salilam yatha Nivrita tarshe upagiyamana Bhavo shada shotra mano bhirama Kauttama shloka gunanuvada Pumams virajit pashuk vinag Pumams virajit vina pashugna Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear worshipable devotees, thank you so much for taking out your valuable time to read here Srimad-Bhāgavatam, 10th Canto, The Advent of Lord Shri Krishna. Introduction. So we have read till text number 37, and if you remember, last time we were at this point where Kamsa has taken out his sword and is about to chop off the head of his own sister, whom he was very affectionately trying to, bid a farewell by taking her to her in-laws' place as a chariot driver. But when there was a celestial voice that, "Oh, fool Kamsa, this eighth child of the same sister, Devaki, will be the cause of your death," then the demoniac quality within said, "How can this be happen? And I'll chop off her head." Seeing that, Vasudev, in very kind words, and we discussed the power of speech. We discussed how he carefully used his words so that somehow the other, Kamsa could stop his evil act of killing his sister. So these words are spoken by Vasudev. That's where we were last time. We'll start with text 38. Mrityor janmavatam vira dehena sahajayate adya vabda shatanteva mrityor vai praninam dhruvaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai. O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born within the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Purport. Vasudeva wanted to impress upon Kamsa that although Kamsa feared dying and therefore wanted to kill even a woman, he could not avoid death. Death is sure. Why then should Kamsa do something that would be detrimental to his reputation and that of his family, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita? Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha Tasmada pariharyarthe natvam shochitum arhasi. For one who has taken birth, for one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. One should not fear death. Rather, one should prepare oneself for the next birth. One should utilize one's time in this human form to end the process of birth and death. It is not that to save oneself from death, one should entangle himself in sinful activities. That is not good. Hare Krishna. Such a beautiful verse again by, who is speaking this verse? Vasudeva. He's speaking this to Kamsa. So he's using the word, oh great hero. This death is born with the birth, right? As soon as a person is born, one thing is certain, that the person, the body will die. Whether after 1 year, 1 month, 100 years, 50 years, 60, 70, 80, whatever, that number we don't know. But can anyone say for certain that one will not die? No. As certain as that. One who is born. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu. Dhruva means certain. It's not referring to Dhruv Maharaj here or anything like that. So it's referring to certain. It's fixed. Like Dhruv Tara is fixed. It's always in the north. So Dhruv means fixed here. It's not Adhruvam. It's not maybe. It's not that someone, maybe that person will die, maybe he will not die. It's just a matter of time. So, oh my dear Kamsa, why are you kind of letting your reputation die, and that too you're demeaning yourself and your family for something which will happen anyways? Isn't it? It will happen anyways. Like by killing your sister, you think you'll be able to stop your death? It's in a nice way he's kind of saying that. If you kill your sister, that means you will never die. Will your death be adhruvam? Will you be ever eternal? No, sorry, that's not the case. Then anyways you will die after some time. Then why are you trying to kill your sister? So don't try to indulge in sinful activities to save one from death, which we anyways can't do. A lot of people, so Kamsa was trying to engage in sinful activities by killing a woman and killing her own sister, and that too at the day of marriage. That's very sad. So what is the goal of life? The goal of life is not be fearful. So our goal is not to be death conscious. Hey, death will come. What to do? Death will come. This is, our society is International Society for Krishna consciousness, not death consciousness. Many people say, hey, why you talk about death? Why you talk about whatever state you remember at the time of death? You'll get there. So this is not our kind of the goal is to be realistic, that something is going to come. So better than being ignorant about it, right? Many people try to be in ignorance. Don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. It's like the ostrich putting the head in the sand, and the tiger of death is just waiting. Just few seconds later, that the ostrich will be devoured. So putting the head in the sand will not hide the problem. Maybe for 2 seconds. So maybe people go to casinos, bars, and think that they'll be eternal, think that they're happy. But what happened? They're just trying to put a illusion to the problem. The real problem is there. So one should not fear death. Rather, one should prepare oneself for death. And that is what we are trying to do. Life is a preparation, and death is the examination. One should utilize one's time in the human form so that we can get out of the process of birth and death. So we don't have to take birth and death again in the wombs of different mothers and different species, 8.4 million species. And of course, Yudhishthira Maharaj also mentions that everyone sees, yes, my uncle died, my grandfather died, great-grandfather also died, neighbors are dying, relatives are dying, friends are dying. Whether India or US, it's not that people die in India only, people don't die in US, it's not like that, in case anyone was thinking. The point is, anywhere, everywhere, young or even young people die. In so many cases we may have heard. Rich or poor, right? It's not that only rich people die, or rich people don't die, or it's not only educated people don't die. Nothing like that. But still, 99.99% of the population seeing all that happening, thinks, what will happen? No, it will not happen to me. It will not happen to me. I will have a life like no one had. So, intelligent person is not trying to avoid death. Of course, that doesn't mean that we jump off the cliff. That's not the point. But the point is that we not be fearful. Whatever Krishna has in plan for us, it will happen. Whatever age is destined for one, that will happen. We should not try to change God's plan by artificially trying to do anything. That's very bad. Some people artificially try to change the plan of the Lord, which is not recommended. So whatever the plan of Lord is, whether it's 60, 70, 50, 40, 90, 100, 120, whatever, we live in a way so that it's Krishna conscious. Prabhupada mentions in other places that many great souls, they didn't have a long life, but they had a very Krishna conscious life. Even Lord Chaitanya, he in this Leela was there for only 48 years approximately. 48 years, and many other great souls. But it does not matter how many years one lives. It matters what's the consciousness, what's the state, and what are they doing while they're living. That's the most important. So this verse, very similar to Bhagavad Gita 2.27. So Prabhupada is quoting that in the purport as well. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments anyone has in this text? Okay, let's move on to 39. Someone like to read? Yes, Raghu Prabhu, you understand?
Thank you. Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees, text 39. Dehe panchatvam apane dehi karma nugo vasaha dehantaram anuprapya praktanam tajyate vapuhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. When the present body turns to dust and is again reduced to 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the proprietor of the body, the living being, automatically receives another body of material elements according to his fruitive activities. When the next body is obtained, he gives up the present body. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, which presents the beginning of spiritual understanding. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tata tehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2.13. A person or an animal is not the material body. Rather, the material body is the covering of the living being. Bhagavad Gita compares the body to a dress and elaborately explains how one changes dresses one after another. The same Vedic knowledge is confirmed here. The living being, the soul, is constantly changing bodies one after another. Even in the present life, the body changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, and from youth to old age. Similarly, when the body is too old to continue, the living being gives up this body and by the laws of nature automatically gets another body according to his fruitive activities, desires, and ambitions. The laws of nature control this sequence, and therefore, as long as the living entity is under the control of the external material energy, the process of bodily change takes place automatically, according to one's fruitive activities. Vasudeva therefore wanted to impress upon Kamsa that if he committed this sinful act of killing a woman in his next life, he would certainly get a material body still more conditioned to the sufferings of material existence. Thus, Vasudeva advised Kamsa not to commit sinful activities. One who commits sinful activities because of ignorance, tamoguna, obtains a lower body, karanam guna sango sadasad yoni janmasu, Bhagavad Gita 13:22. There are hundreds and thousands of different species of life. Why are there higher and lower bodies? One receives these bodies according to the contaminations of material nature. If in this life one is contaminated by the mode of ignorance, certainly is something. If in this life one is contaminated by the mode of ignorance and sinful activities, duskriti, in the next life, by the laws of nature, one will certainly get a body full of suffering. The laws of nature are not subservient to the whimsical desires of the conditioned soul. Our endeavor, therefore, should be to associate always with sattva guna and not indulge in rajoguna or tamoguna, rajastamo bhavaha. Lusty desires and greed keep the living entity perpetually in ignorance and prevent him from being elevated to the platform of Sattva Guna or Sudha Sattva Guna. One is advised to be situated in Sudha Sattva Guna, devotional service, for thus one is immune to the reactions of the three modes of material nature. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So in this purport, Sri Prabhupada is very nicely summarizing how in this life alone, one goes from birth, young age, boyhood or girlhood, whatever it is, old age, manhood, and then so on, and into old age and eventually dies. So there's a process taking place within this life. And then there's also a process that's taking place in transforming from one life to the next. So death is certain and birth is also certain if, and there's a condition if there, it depends on how you go about the present life that you have been given. If you commit sinful activities and lead a life that's more in tamoguna, then you will attain the karma resulting from that, which could mean that you may be born as a human being, may or may not. No, nothing is guaranteed. So Sri Prabhupada is stressing here that one should strive to get to the Sudha Sattva Guna, highest form of Sattva Guna, so that he'll be doing acts which are beneficial to himself and to also all the other devotees. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for so nicely elaborating on this. Dust to Dust is an extended seminar series by Srimad Bhakti-Rasamrita Maharaj. This body is a lump of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And after the body is dead, in some religions they burn, some they bury, etc. But ultimately the body goes to the 5 elements. The earth element goes to the earth element, the water element, fire element, etc. And guess what happens? What happens, as Bhagavad Gita mentions, Dehino asmin yatha dehi kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantaras prapti dhirastatra namo. In other words, Bhagavad Gita, about 15 verses in chapter 2 talk about this fundamental point. Who am I? What is our identity? What is the difference between the body and the soul? In other words, in this regard is as the person gives up the old garments and wears when the garments are torn or they are, after everything has an expiration. So the clothes we are wearing will expire after some time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Everything has a limited lifespan, and then we will, no one is sad to kind of give up old garments, 10-year-old garments with holes in it. It's okay, happily we give up, and then we take the new ones and cover our body. Similarly, when the body is old, the soul moves from one body to the other. An intelligent person is not bewildered by such a change. So let's understand this from multiple shlokas. Actually, Prabhupada is quoting here. In other words, Prabhupada is quoting is Purushas Prakritos Stohi. I'm going to share my screen so you can all see. Purushas Prakritos Stohi Bhunkate Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanan Gunasangasya Sat Asad Yoni Janmashu. Simpata, you want to read the translation?
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji, back to you.
Very nice verse in this connection. So, based on the modes we are in, we will take different birth and different species. Another verse of Bhagavad Gita tells the same thing. So, do you want to read this one in the translation? Mataji?
I can read.
Sure, Mataji.
Dandavat pranam. Urdhvam gachanti sattva madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganyam gunavrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Back to you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in short, if we use our just let's understand this through this. So, where are we? So we'll divide this understanding from 2 parts. So first, just consider we are here, okay? And we are in what species? Human species. Male, female body we have received. Brahmanda Durlabha Manusha Deva. This human form is very, very rare. And then there are so many other species in this. Just think about, they're all different junctions: cat, dog, buffalo, tiger, goat, fish, ants, deers, deer. Like that, 8.4 million species are there. Lot of variety. And we keep oscillating in the circle of birth and death. But Krishna is very merciful. He gives this chance again. Okay, I'm giving you a chance. This is called Bhoga Yoni. Okay. In this lifetime, we have a choice. Either we take journey here, or there is an exit path. You know, there's an exit path which goes to Paravyoma, which is back to Godhead. Now the choice is ours. Now, if we succumb to three modes, we will take birth here. And to better understand, we discuss the other verse also. So just imagine there are so many universal systems, right? This is Bhu, Va, Sva, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satya, Vatala, Vitala, Sutala, Vasatal, Mahatal, Pata, like that, 14 planetary systems. Where are we? We are, again, somewhere in the middle, right? It's very important. In the building they show, right? In any public place you go, there's a thing called, hey, you are here, right? You are here. And they tell, in case of fire, this is the way you have to get out, right? Have you seen those? This emergency exit maps or something in a hotel or in a library? Every public place has or should have. This is the government rules. So now we have a choice. Urdhva gachanti sattvasta. If we do good activities, pious activities, where will we go? We'll go up. Swarga, Indra, Chandra, Varuna. Tamo gachanti, adho gachanti tamasaha. The tamas will go adha, down. And madhya tishtati rajasaha. Madhya means middle, they stay in the middle. And it's a very complex interaction, right? Like the three colors are made up of, all the colors are made up of three colors, right? What are those three colors? Where all the colors are made up of? Red, blue,
Green and
and
blue.
White and
RGB, red, green, and blue, and some say CMYK, cyan, magenta, and couple of others.
I think I've heard like the red, blue, and yellow,
RGB,
right?
RGB, red, green, blue. RGB.
Okay. I thought the green is the mixture of blue and yellow. Anyways, but the point is that it's the,
Yeah.
right? It's red, blue, and yellow, right? Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, I think so. Sorry. Yeah.
So the point is, it could be a very complex mixture of these. It's not that, and based on that complex algorithm, which the Supreme Lord knows very well, we could either go up, down, stay there. And in those species also, we have these 8.4 million species, right? We could take birth in any of those, but there will be birth for sure until we are, Prabhupada mentions, until we take to the path of devotional service. That's the immunization One is advised to be distributed in the Shuddha Sattva Guna or devotional service, for thus one is immune to the reaction of the three modes. Basically, devotional service or Shuddha Sattva Guna. That is the only way to transcend this material world and go back home, back to Godhead. So, and human life is the only life. The cats don't have a choice. The tiger doesn't have a choice. The bear doesn't have a choice. The fishes don't have a choice. The birds don't have a choice. We are those fortunate species which have a choice. Otherwise, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, in different wombs of different mothers, will keep oscillating in this called cycle of birth and death. One is born and this transmigration process goes on. Same up, like an accelerator, sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes up, sometimes down. Keep moving in this Brahmanda. Until Brahmanda Brahmite, Bhaud Brahman Karne ke baad. Kono Bhagyavana Jiva, who is that fortunate soul? Guru Krishna Prasad Pai. By the mercy of Guru Krishna, one gets to this process of, they give the immunization. Nowadays, talking about vaccine immunization. This is the real vaccine which we need. This is the real vaccine which Guru gives, the injection of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then they inject Krishna consciousness in our lives. And they teach us how to be Krishna conscious, how to make our family Krishna conscious, how to make our work Krishna conscious, how to make our home Krishna conscious. This is real immunization, which we all must take. This is the real immunity, so that we get out from this path and go to that path. We have a choice. Human life is a life of choices. We have a choice to practice, or we have Krishna consciousness, and we have a choice to be under the grip of the three modes. And the three modes are compared. Some will say, oh, I'll be a pious person, mode of goodness, give a little charity, no bhakti, be kind, shanti, shanti, shanti. That's mode of goodness. That's also a chain. That's also a shackle, maybe a golden shackle, but the outcome will be one maybe go to the spiritual world, enjoy some fruits there, and then get back. Shina punyam nitya loka vishanti. Get back to the earthly planet, back to grind. So a devotee is not looking for sattva only. Sattva helps to practice bhakti if we engage sattva in the service of the Supreme Lord. But the real point is to take the devotional service process. Then only we'll be free from the cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, life passes in this cyclic chain of birth, old age, disease, death, and again, its body, again. Any thoughts, comments, additions in this particular? Does this make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can read. Oh, I'm sorry. So we read text number 39. So we'll read 40. Yes. You can't want to read?
Sure, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam. Hare Kṛṣṇa, everyone. Dhanavad Pranam. Text number 40. Vrajam stitastham padaikena yataivaikena gacchati yatha trina jalau kaivam dehi karma gatim gataha. You can scroll. Prabhuji, can you scroll down at least? Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Just as a person traveling on the road rests one foot on the ground and then lifts the other, or as a worm on a vegetable transfer itself to one leaf and then gives up the previous one, the conditioned soul takes shelter of another body and gives up the one he had before. Purport. This is the process of soul transmigration from one body to another. At the time of death, according to his mental condition, the living being is. Prabhuji, can you please just scroll up? Thank you, Prabhu. Living being is carried by the subtle body consisting of mind, intelligence, and ego to another gross body. When higher authorities have decided what kind of gross body the living entity will have, he is forced to enter such a body, and thus he automatically gives up his previous birth. Dull-minded persons who do not have the intelligence to understand this process of transmigration take for granted that when the gross body is finished, one life is finished forever. Such persons have no brains with which to understand the process of transmigration. At, pres- at the present moment, there is a great opposition to the Hare Krishna movement, which is called a brainwashing movement. But actually, the so-called scientists, philosophers, and other leaders in the Western countries have no brains at all. The Hare Krishna movement is trying to alleviate such foolish persons by enlightening their intelligence so that they will take advantage of human body. Unfortunately, because of gross ignorance, they regard the Hare Krishna movement as a brainwashing movement. They do not know that without consciousness, one is forced to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Because of their devilish brains, they will next be forced to accept an abon- abo- abomin- min- abominable life and practically never be able to liberate themselves from the conditional life of material existence. How this transmigration of the soul takes place is very clearly explained in this verse. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Guru. Any comments on this text?
Oh, it's kind of, I felt like it is kind of taking one step ahead from the last verse of explaining the transmigration. And it is really hard for a person who do not have, I mean, if even if I take my example, if I don't believe for a fact like there is no God or there is no life after death, then it seems to be obvious that there is nothing going to happen right after this birth. I'm born to the I got this human life to enjoy. I enjoy, and then just I go away. That's the point. I always think if I don't have a spiritual um, aspect to my life, when you add a spiritual aspect to the life, which means like you believe that there is a Lord, supreme personality, there is one supreme personality who is within you and also created everything. And when you find that reasoning, why is it and who is it, that's when you kind of introduce it, and you kind of derive that there is something beyond, and also there is a definitely a transmigration, which is part of it. And Srimad-Bhāgavatam explains in many of stories explain many of that such facts. Jad Bharat is one of the examples that I remembered while reading that, Prabhu. Please correct me if I said anything wrong. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you, Guru. Prabhupada is mentioning here in the purport, the time of death, according to his mental condition, the living being is carried by the subtle body. Can anyone tell which verse of Bhagavad Gita tells that? chapter 8. Next number. Who knows? It's in the 50 list actually. I think 6, 5, and 6 have that, right? Antakale.
Ch mameva smarana muktva kalevaram.
Who's the next line? Yeah, Prayati Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Yes. Simple. 105.
It is from 8.5. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yat prayati samadbhavam yati nasti arya samyas. I forgot.
Anshaya.
Sorry.
What's the 6th one? That's 8.6.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajante kalevaram. I don't remember.
Tamtamevati kaunteya sudatad bhava bhavitaha. Both the verses speak the same point. One is generic. One who remembers me at the time of death will come to me. In the 6th verse, yam yam vapi smaran bhava. Whatever state, yam yam. Yeah, see, yam again, jojo. This prakar, like whatever state, whatever. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Tyajati, one gives up. Anta, at the time of death. Kala, his body. Kalevram, that state one will attain, as that's what Prabhupada is mentioning. Prabhupada is also mentioning when higher authorities have decided what kind of gross body the living entity will have, he is forced to enter such a body. Who are the higher authorities here? Just read the purport and I repeated this line. So who are the higher authorities? Anyone wants to try?
Guru Prabhuji.
Guru will decide what kind of body we'll get.
I mean, what Guru? Sorry.
Not Guru in this connection. Yes, Lakshya, what do you think?
It might be either Krishna or the demigods.
Try. Who came to take the Ajamil? Right?
Vishnudutas, Vaikuntha planet people. By Vishnu.
Yeah, first
Yamadutas.
Yamadutas. But generally, who comes? Generally, for the masses, who comes to do this function? The Yamadutas, right?
Yamadutas.
The Yamadutas come. They are the higher authorities who are devotees, Amarajas and Mahajan, right? So they have been given this authority to decide, right? And they have a count, right? They have a very big hard drive where a count of all, they have hidden cameras, Chitra Gupta. Chitra Gupta. Chitra means picture, Gupta means hidden. So they have hidden cameras that keep taking everyone's picture. What are they doing? What are they eating? How are they behaving with others? What actions they are doing through, so are they in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance? As the caterpillar, this is very poetic. Caterpillar, Shastras are very metaphorical. We were discussing Charu Chitram Padam Shlakshma. The two examples are given here, like a passenger, like a traveler. We all travel on foot, right? So we take one step up and set it forward, right? Like that, we keep traveling on foot. Similarly, the caterpillar is on one leaf. Just imagine this caterpillar, like my pen. It's on one leaf, then goes to the other, and slowly moves, and passes to the other, and then it passes to the next, and like that it keeps passing. Similarly, the soul passes. So while we are on, while the caterpillar is here, he's already prepared his body. Halfway, where is it going? The more, this time is passing over in the first leaf, right? Just think about it. Taking this analogy forward. So the caterpillar is fully here. Now he has a choice, complete choice, where to go. The more I get on this leaf, right? So the more our habits are set, the harder it is to switch our choices, isn't it? Ask a 70-year. Recently I was hearing just how His Grace Gopeshwar Prabhu was one of my teachers. I'll share that class. He was interviewed by Hare Kṛṣṇa TV. So Vipula Prabhu asked him, I think many people say we should practice bhakti at the end, right? Many people say we should practice bhakti at the end. Yeah. He said, yes, we should practice bhakti at the end. But first ask those people, those who procrastinate, how many of them really started bhakti at the end? No one. No one started bhakti at the end. Only 1 in 10 million. Because old habits die hard. I know so many people in my own family. I used to request them. Now it's your old age. Now you are 70 plus years. Now don't drink alcohol. Now you stop eating with non-vegetarian food. But no, so many reasons the mind will give. Very hard. Already you have 70 years, you have lived life your way, live life king size, eat, sleep, be merry, whatever you thought is right, you did that. Now whatever life is left, 10, 15 years or whatever, 1, 2, 5, 10 years, whatever it is left, now you live as per the instruction of Gita. No. It's very hard. It's almost impossible to practice bhakti at old age. If one does not begin, there could be some fortunate rare souls, but in general it's hard. And in Hare Kṛṣṇa movement or Krishna conscious society is trying to wash these misconceptions, and people call them brainwashers. So we are paving our future. We are choosing our destiny based on the activities here. So an intelligent person wants to get rid of all these repeated birth and death and ultimately go back home, which also we have a choice, as we discussed earlier, only through God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. This is transmigration of soul. Any comments, additions anyone has in this text? Yes, please.
Prabhu, I recently heard in a Alachua temple class that one young person, like youth, was saying that he went through the discipline of sometimes getting up at 3 a.m. and packing the Mangalarti boxes for guests to come and take it. And he was thinking, oh, this is so hard. And then the other youth said, it's better to go through this pain of discipline when we are young than to go through the pain of regret the rest of our lives. It's discipline seems painful in the beginning, but otherwise we'll always regret not having that discipline. The whole rest of our life will suffer. I just wanted to add that to your nice purport. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Shreyas and prayers. It may be a little hard in the beginning, but it will give the ultimate fruit of Krishna Prema. No more suffering. Thank you. It's an excellent point. Anyone else has any other points to make? Okay, so next one is a long purport, but we'll just maybe read one paragraph and then we'll pause. So Ravi Prabhu, let's see, your hand must be tired. It's been up for like 10 minutes, so maybe you can read.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Text 41. Swapne yatha pashyati dehim drasham manorathena abhinivishta chetanaha drishtu srutva bhayam manasanu chintayam prapadayante tat kim apihi apasmartihi. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation, and thus one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances, in different bodies, and forgets his actual position. Under this same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another tatha dehantara prapti. Purport. Transmigration of the soul is very clearly explained in this verse. One sometimes forgets his present body and thinks of his childhood body, a body of the past, and of how one was playing, jumping, talking, and so on. When the material body is no longer workable, it becomes dust. For dust, thou art, and unto dust shall thou return. But when the body again mixes with the five material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the mind continues to work. The mind is the subtle substance in which the body is created. As we actually experience in our dreams, and also when we are awake in contemplation, one must understand that the process of mental speculation develops a new type of body that does not actually exist. If one can understand the nature of the mind, manorathena, and its thinking, feeling, and willing, one can very easily understand how from the mind different types of bodies develop. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, offers a process of transcendental activities wherein the mind is fully absorbed in affairs pertaining to Krishna. The presence of the soul is perceived by consciousness, and one must purify his consciousness from material to spiritual, or in other words, to Krishna consciousness. That which is spiritual is eternal, and that which is material is temporary. Without Krishna consciousness, one's consciousness is always absorbed in temporary things. For everyone, therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita 9:34, Manmana bhava madbhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru. One should always be absorbed in thought of Krishna. One should become his devotee. One should always engage in his service and worship him as the supreme great. And one should always offer him obeisances. In the material world, one is always a servant of a greater person. And in the spiritual world, our constitutional position is to serve the supreme, the greatest, Param Brahma. This is the instructions of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Jivera Swarup Hare Krishnera Nitya Das. Chaitanya Caritāmṛta Madhya 20.108. To act in Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life and the highest perfection of yoga, as Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita 6:47. Yogi nam api sarvesham madgane gate nantara atmana sardabhan bhajate yo mam same yuktatamo matah. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The condition of the mind which flickers between sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting something and rejecting it, is very important in transferring the soul to another material body at the time of death. Yam yam vapya smaran bhavam tajyati ante kalevaram tam tam eva titi kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fall. Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Therefore, one must train the mind in the system of Bhakti Yoga, as did Maharaj Ambrish, who kept himself always in Krishna consciousness. Sa vai manaha Krishna padara vindayo. One must fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If the mind is fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet, the activities of the other senses will be engaged in Krishna's services. Rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. To serve Rishikesh, the master of the senses, with purified senses is called bhakti. Those who constantly engage in devotional service are situated in a transcendental state above the material modes of nature, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Mam chayo bhavacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samityatean brahma bhuya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One must learn the secret of success from the Vedic literatures, especially when the cream of Vedic knowledge is presented by Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because the mind is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the word apasmrita is significant. Forgetfulness of one's own identity is called apasmriti. It's opposite of smriti, apasmriti. This apasmriti can be controlled by the Supreme Lord, for the Lord says, Mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real position, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death. Even though the mind may be flickering, although the mind may work imperfectly at the time of death, Krishna gives a devotee shelter at his lotus feet. Therefore, when a devotee gives up his body, the mind does not take him to another material body. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam iti. Rather, Krishna takes the devotee to that place where he is engaged in his pastimes. Mam eti. As we have already discussed in previous verses, one's consciousness, therefore, must always be absorbed in Krishna, and then one's life will be successful. Otherwise, the mind will carry the soul to another material body. The soul will be placed in the semen of a father and discharged into the womb of a mother. The semen and the womb create a particular type of body according to the form of the father and mother. And when the body is mature, the soul emerges in that body and begins a new life. This is the process of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Tatha dehantara prapti. Unfortunately, those who are less intelligent think that when the body disappears, everything is finished. The entire world is being misled by such fools and rascals. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:20, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul does not die when the body is destroyed. Rather, the soul takes on another body. Hari Bol.
Prabhu, thank you for reading this detailed purport. It's very amazing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, it was very meaningful and basically a lot of information. Like how we repeat to remember. So a lot of information was repeated so that we don't forget the key that you have to keep your mind at the service of Krishna's lotus feet. And as it is explained here that if you keep your mind for the service of lotus feet of Krishna, then all other senses which actually works under the guidance of mind will automatically be working for the pleasure of Krishna, not not for our own indriya tripti, it's for the Krishna's indriya tripti. And that way, when the time of time comes to leave the body, that time Krishna will basically help us to not find another body, and it will basically give a shelter at his lotus feet. So Rishikesh was mentioned, which is like master of all senses, and conditioning your mind. So every other sense organ, basically all of the senses follows the mind. And then we all know the controlling the mind is very difficult, as stated in Bhagavad Gita itself, Chanchalam he manah Krishna. So, but then the followed verse talks about we can do it with the abhyas and vairagya, like practice and detachment. So that can be done throughout the life. And as you were mentioning before, Prabhu, that it cannot be done at the end stage of life, because as you said, it's very hard to change the habit. And sometimes even like, I have been posed with a question that it's okay if it's okay, I can continue the way I am. Even if I get a different body, who cares? I will not remember that I am getting the lower species body. So I don't know how to answer those kind of people, but I said, okay. I mean, I don't have knowledge to answer those kind of counter argument. Like when they say, I don't care even if I become, say like lower species, because I will not remember. Then, I mean, I tell them, though, I know you will not remember, but your subtle body remembers everything. The subtle body goes with it. But again, this is very important that starting the bhakti at earliest is the best option. The more we condition our mind for bhakti, we will be in a better position when the time comes to leave the body. Back to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I think Mataji wants to add some comments or answer, maybe. You raise your hand, Mataji, I need to say something.
That was from last time, Prabhu. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So I think the point you asked, Prabhu, is actually incorrect. They say that they will not remember. That's false. We can ask them, do you remember any painful experience from childhood? Right? Do you remember losing a dear one, which happened 10 years back? What they will say, yes. They'll say, yes, I remember. Right? So the body has completely changed. 10 years back body, and the body now is completely different. Even the brain cells change within 7 years. So none of the cells in the body is same. So we are not just reincarnating after the end of this body, we are reincarnating even in this body. Kar means flesh, carnivorous, those who eat flesh. Re means again, re-enter, redo, re means to repeat. Re-in-car, that means to come again in the flesh. So we are changing this body, or we are reincarnating even in this body. Now someone will say, I don't remember the pain I underwent in the womb of a mother, right? But that was us. Someone will say, maybe I got, it's as good as saying, when I was a child, maybe someone had a what do you call that? Like a born early, like what is it called? 6 months, 7 months.
Premature.
Yeah. So they go through a lot of pain, right? They go through a lot of pain. Although the child is going through that pain, but let's say I was that child. I don't recall, right? But ignorance is not an excuse, isn't it? That's another way to look at it. I may underwent, let's say, a big surgery at 1 year, and I underwent a lot of pain. I don't recall that, but it's foolishness. If someone asks me, hey, do you want to undergo that surgery again? Will I say yes? Well, I'll forget after 5 years. Will anyone say yes? No, that is ignorance. That is foolishness. So no one wants to go. Okay, we understand. Like now, many cancer survivors, right? Let's say. Now, after 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, let's say, they may still have those memories. They may still have some complications or whatever. But will they say, okay, will anyone like to go through that experience again? No. At the time of death, thousands and let's say 40,000 or so, the scorpions are biting together. That's what the Shastras explain. So we have to go by the verdict of the Shastras. And anyone through common sense also we can understand these things. So this is the point. And all these verses Prabhupada is quoting is actually in the list of 50 verses, which is highly recommended to learn. Those who have not learned 50 verses, there is even a smaller list of 30 verses. So, chota pack. So you can learn those 30 verses. And after that, then you can learn the 50. Those who have learned 50 can try the 108. And like that. So all these verses, see, Prabhupada, those 30, 50 verses are from all these 8.5, 14, 26. All these verses quoted here are Prabhupada's 2.20. So many verses about the body and soul. So please try to learn those, at least the 30 verses. 934 is there. All these verses are there. One more point which is coming to my mind. Swapne yatha pashyati deham idrisham manorathena abhinimishkrita chetanaha drishta shrutabhyam. These words are important. The kind of impressions, anyone has gone through any dreams which is you feel comfortable sharing, like what you were in that dream? Anyone? King, maybe hero, maybe something. Anyone wants to share? Which is not so personal. Anyone gets dream ever or got in the past? And you were something different from what you are? Anyone? No one? Is anyone getting dreams or?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, yeah, get the dream, but most of the time, I don't remember. But I remember certain dreams when I was going to go to India in the month of November, like, in month of October or something. I would dream that I am, in my place, and kind of a little weird dream, but trying to help and trying to go there and going through a lot of, all those thoughts that was coming in my mind, like, now it's Corona time, I have to go there, I have to make different arrangements. All those thinking that was going on in the daytime, it was kind of coming in the form of dream. But but when I think that, to me, when I overthink, it comes in the dream. When I don't overthink, everything is quiet and normal. So nowadays I'm very relaxed. No dream.
But
Sleep
Prabhu, I am myself in my dreams.
Yes, yeah, but these two, I was seeing myself. I was not seeing anybody else. It was like me who was doing everything.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And then Mataji, you want to share like what kind of, if it's not so personal, like what you dreamt of something?
Just recently I dreamt that someone was trying to kill me. It was so weird. I never have such dreams, but and then other times sometimes it's about I'm in the temple. That often happens, or I'm in my childhood home.
There's a very nice point written here. Drishtva Shrutabhyam. So basically, whatever impressions we are accumulating through our senses, like as Ravi Prabhu mentioned, he was supposed to go to India and he was contemplating what will happen, who will I meet, what will I do, will things go fine, there's corona, there's this, there's that. And then the mind keeps thinking, feeling, willing, and those impressions come in the dream. Either sometimes through the same person, or sometimes, oh, I'm a king, oh, I'm a dog, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a poor, I'm rich, I'm a whatever is going through in our minds will come in those states also. Now, taking it in the positive aspect, one can even think of Krishna in the dreams. How? By reading, hearing about Krishna, by accumulating more and more impressions of Krishna consciousness, right? That's what we read everywhere. That's what Prabhupada said. Before we sleep, we should read Krishna book. Very, very scientific, right? It's not just very, very scientific, because that's what the impressions will be just before we sleep. And that's the impression. I mean, this is also a very good time reading Bhagavatam. That's the impression we'll get to contemplate on these topics. So think about Vasudeva, such a difficult time. Devaki's hair are in the hand of Kamsa, and he's speaking all these verses about Atma, the transmigration of soul to Kamsa. So having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates about it. One speculates about that situation. And then one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. We sometimes even forget the body which we have. Swami said, what is dream? Dream is short death, and death is little long death. Both are death. In dream also we change our body. Do we remember who we are in the sleeping state? How many of you have experienced this? Sometimes you're have taken a long trip, like I travel a lot, and sometimes, let's say I'm in Ravi Prabhu's home, I travel a lot from Florida to Indianapolis, and then suddenly I get up at his home, and it takes me 2-3 minutes to register. Actually, I'm in Jackson and I'm in Ravi Prabhu's home. It takes time to register, right? Has anyone experienced that? So this is death. Every day sleep is basically a short death. And then you're reincarnating again, sometimes in the same body, sometimes in a different body. Both are dreams, right? So the more impressions we can learn, the more impressions we give about Krishna consciousness, either through reading, hearing, chanting, arati, prasadam, etc., the more we will think about those. The more impressions we give through Bollywood, Hollywood, blasphemy, fault finding, criticism, politics, those will come in our dream state also. The more the mind will keep wandering and pondering about those. So interesting verses, very, very interesting. Okay, a little over time today, but I guess we'll pause now so we can dream about these verses in our dreams tonight. Thank you so much. We'll continue from here tomorrow. Kantraj, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindubhya evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namo. Thank you so much. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.